Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with G today. Hi, G. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's lovely to have you here with me.
Hello, Zoritha. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. So, G, let me start with my typical first question. I'd really like to know, and I'm sure the audience are also keen to know, as to how you got to where you are today. Tell us a little bit about your career journey. What were some of the things that you did along the way, and how you got to where you are today?
I've been in the cybersecurity industry for about 5 years now, and before that, I spent 10 years in the marketing and communications field. And as you can tell, it's a vastly very different field altogether. But it's been an exciting journey for me. I think the past 5 years being in cybersecurity, I've moved from cyber training and awareness to performing assurance to strategy and planning. And right now I'm doing business efficiency, governance, and driving the people and culture agenda in our cyber field, basically. So that's a quick summary in terms of where I've been in the past 5 years, what happened before that for the past 10 years. But I think for me, like, as you know, it's a huge shift. And one thing that has really helped me get to where I am today, I would say, like, the one key skill that I've honed that helped me throughout my career, especially during the career switch, is to really never be afraid to always learn and always ask questions. Even the silliest one, I think people sometimes are afraid, oh no, I haven't learned, I haven't dived into like a complete course in a way in a long time. Or, oh, I've got like the silliest question. I don't know if it's the right channel or the right platform to ask. But I think this is a set of skill that I've really honed since my tertiary education days. It doesn't matter where you are, right? Whether back then when I was doing part-time jobs, whether I was working in a factory during my university days, whether I was, wrapping burgers at a night market, selling fire extinguishers, all this require you to learn and constantly ask questions. And my career moved from marketing and communications to cyber. That's the one key thing that has really, really helped me and helped me to learn as much as possible, because that's the only way you can learn. I mean, sure, you can do courses and things like that, but if you can do one thing, that's the one thing, to have an open mind, just keep learning, keep asking questions. But the best part about this as well is if you can ask someone in terms of how did you get to where you are? How did you do what you do? And they'll be more than happy most of the time to tell you how they've done it, because these are proven ways to do things, proven ways to get somewhere. It's like a shortcut for you almost, right? It's like, hey, I learned how did a person get from point A to point B. I can do the same or tweak it to where I need to go. So I think for me, like, that's one key thing that I've learned. Ask the questions, always learn, be open to learn, and it will help you tremendously, basically.
It's really nice to hear about your career, G, and as you were talking about your career, you have shared so much advice already. Talking about no question is a silly question. Feel free to listen to people who've done a lot of achievements in their career, asking them how you got to where you are today, and having those mentor relationship as well. So I'm sure the audience would appreciate your advice as well, along with explaining to us about your career. I'm sure a lot of us face this, right? There are a number of obstacles that we face along the way in our careers, whether big or small. And I'm sure you've had certain challenges to deal with as well in your career. Would you like to share with the audience anything around that, or how did you overcome some of them? It'd be good to hear.
Yeah, certainly, right. I mean, as you know now, I made that career switch. I think that is the biggest challenge I can ever throw to myself in terms of not having any background in cyber. That means I have to do triple the work or even quadruple the work to understand cyber risk, to understand controls, to understand governance within a short frame of time. And then you sit there and you think, it's like, okay, where do I need to start to get myself going, to quickly learn about all these things and really ramp up my skills in that sense. And I think for me, like what has worked out, I mean, in addition to asking questions, in addition to just be always open to learning, I think, I've obviously read books. I love listening to podcasts. I think like one of the podcasts that someone recommended to me is Darknet Diaries. I'm not sure if you've heard that, but really exciting way to learn about cyber in an engaging way, basically. So I think the fun way to learn, listen to podcasts, And, I think every night I remember, I mean, I still do it till today. You increase your exposure to cyber terminology, what's happening out there in the world. I have like a Flipboard just dedicated to cyber news and articles. So I do this on a daily basis because, I mean, Flipboard is like a magazine style format on your phone or on your iPad or whatever devices you use. And it's learn more about cyber. I think that is extremely important as well, because subconsciously you're actually absorbing information, you're learning, but not in a rigorous way. You have to sit and focus for 3 whole hours on a particular topic, for instance. And obviously, asking questions, like I said earlier on, even if it's the silliest of questions, but you'll be really surprised at how many others who are probably a lot more experienced than you are have the same set of questions. It's quite amazing if you just kind of like, go out there and just ask. And I think one key other important way to overcome that challenge of really having to put in triple amount of work to understand all these concepts and risks and things like that, I think is never let nervousness about taking on tasks or projects that are really difficult stop you from doing it. I think a lot of people will be like, it's a bit too hard, or I don't think I could do it, or you kind of like have that self-doubt. I think it's okay to feel nervous about it. It's okay to feel a little bit anxious about it. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest challenge that you can put yourself across basically is where the biggest opportunities lie. And these are also one of the biggest learning opportunities for you. It gives you the opportunity to grow, to learn, and all that stuff. So I think that's where you start. Otherwise, you will never start. Don't ever let nervousness about big tasks or projects that are extremely difficult stop you from doing it. And I think never ever feel like you're alone in it, because your colleagues are a great support system. Your people leaders are a great support system that you can tap on for you to really, really dive into that. So yeah, I think that's what I can give in terms of my challenges and how I overcame them, and just a few tips in terms of how people can get started, essentially.
Brilliant. It is absolutely amazing to hear. And I can see the passion coming out as well when you're explaining. So it really is resonating so well with me. I'm sure it's going to resonate with the audience as well. We are coming to the end of the time, G. So I want to ask you one more question. This is a really important topic, and I know we've been talking about this as well. There are a lot of challenges out there in the world, generally as well. We talk about our own personal challenges, but there are challenges out there, when it comes to women, when it comes to cybersecurity and so on. According to you, are there certain things that we can improve? Are there specific things that are really worrying you? Would you like to share some insights on that, please?
Yeah, no, definitely, right. I think for me, another particular area that I'm really passionate about is in the diversity and inclusion space, right? I think more specifically on it's human nature. It's subconsciously or consciously, sometimes human just judge others. I think just to give you an example, I just had an earlier conversation today as well about mothers who went on maternity leave. If they come back, should they be worried for their job? And it's a very, very good question, and it's a very good concern as well. It's a valid concern for people to have, and that's just one instance, right? We can talk about gender, we can talk about generation, for instance, or the perception of someone who is young, therefore inexperienced, someone is older, therefore prefers sticking to what they're used to and may not like change. All this like preconceived notions and ideas about people. Again, someone might have these preconceived notions and ideas subconsciously, and they just, blurt it out without realizing that, hey, you know what, there are critical elements of diversity and inclusion at play here with all these conversations that's happening around. So I think sure, we've made progress in the DEI space, but I think there's still lots more to do in this area. And I think when we do that in terms of, judging others subconsciously, thinking, having this typical perception about what a certain person or a women's role in the field is, we are truly undervaluing the importance of diversity of thoughts, making everyone feel included and heard. And I mean, if you think about it, right, innovation rarely comes from a group of people with uniformity in their thoughts, like the same group of people having the same thought. Innovation rarely comes from that. And diversity, inclusion, equity really catalyze innovation. it helps people feel included and encourage people to be the best version of themselves, which is really, really important, because if you allow people to be the best version of themselves, then they can deliver on all the different strategic goals that organizations have, and it's really important for organizations to really embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like I said earlier on, we've seen good progress so far, but I think there's still lots to do. And to carry on with the conversations that we all have been having, the different programs that we have, not just within the bank, but within the industry as a whole, I think it's a good sign, especially in the cyber industry, where it's deemed as like, oh, it's a men's industry, for instance. But definitely great progress, but lots more to do in this area. And I think it's great that we're here. And I mean, yourself is part of, you're championing D&I as well. And I think it's great that we have people like you and others who are really looking into this and trying to move the needle in this space, basically. So, yeah.
You're right. And I think we are doing quite a lot, as you said, but I think, there's a lot more to do. So, and what you said resonated really well about, making people become the best version of themselves. I think if we aim towards that, that's when we become less judgmental, yeah, it really, really helps us think in a better way. And hopefully all organizations are trying to do their best when it comes to D&I, when it comes to generally taking care of all of the things that matter the most to everybody. So I really hope, people listen to this and action. This is like a call to action as well to everybody. But for now, G, thank you so much for sharing insights with us. Thank you so much for sharing your career journey, but also giving so many hints and tips to people listening out there. I'm sure we would all, be able to take a lot of information from you. At the same time, a lot of tips as well for people who are starting their career. I'm sure they've got a lot from this conversation. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.